Hi everyone. Algebra 2, 2-1 functions and continuity. We're gonna cover those topics. One-to-one function, on-to function, discrete relation, continuous relation, vertical line test, independent variable, dependent variable, function notation, codomain will be discussed. One-to-one function. Okay, as the title states, one-to-one. So only one input is connected to only one output. Input cannot split. Output cannot connect to two different inputs. Only one input is connected to only one output. Then it's one-to-one function. On-to function. Everything in the range is connected to domain. So there shouldn't be any extra element on domain range hanging out, not connected to domain, then it's not on-to function. Both one-to-one and on-to function, so everybody's connected to one. There's no extra element hanging out in range, then it's satisfying both conditions. State the domain and range of the relation. Okay, so if you look at it, domain means input, range means output. X is input, Y is output. So domain is X value, X value, X value, X value, X value. So we got 5 numbers for domain, so right here. Domain will be all those numbers, 5 of them. Range will be Y value, Y value, Y value, Y value, Y value, Y value. But if you look at these 2 points have the same Y value, so that's why range has 4 elements in it. Then determine whether the relation is a function. Yes function, not a function. Okay. What is the definition of a function? You cannot have split. What does that mean? If you have one input producing 2 different outputs, that's not a function, not a function. One input produces 1, one input produces 2. Yeah, that's not going to happen. That's not a function. As long as you don't see split, then it should be okay. So if you look at this, whether it's a function or not, you're looking at does one input split to 2 different outputs. Another way to check that is a vertical line test. Especially when the graph is like this, you put vertical line anywhere you like. You can only pass graph once or none. If it passes graph more than once, then it's not a function. It fails a vertical line test. It passes a vertical line test. It only passes point once most. So yes function. Yes function. Yes function. If it is a function, determine if it is one-to-one, on-to, both, or neither. Okay, one-to-one function means only one input connected to only one output. That's not the case with this. You see output as a -2 has 2 different inputs. So input of 0 and -4, both of them ends up with one output. So one output is connected to 2 different inputs. It's not one-to-one function. Not one-to-one. What is on-to? On-to means every element in range has some connection with the input. Yes, every element in range is connected to the domain. 3 is connected to this, 2 is connected to this. Every y value here has x value connected. onto, yes. Not one-to-one, onto, yes. I talked about vertical line test already. Vertical line test. If no vertical line intersects a graph in more than one point, the graph represents a function. Yes, function. If you put vertical line anywhere and if it passes graph more than once, no, not a function. It fails vertical line test. Graph y equal to 3x minus 1 and determine the domain and range. Okay, so if you graph it, minus 1 is the y-intercept, slope is 3. 3 means 3 over 1. So rise over run. So you go 1, 2, 3, 1 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 1 to the right. So you can graph a line. So this is a straight line. Domain means all possible x value. So you're looking at the graph. You're looking at how far to the left the graph reaches to how far to the right the graph reaches. So if you look at this graph keeps going down, also keeps going to the left. It keeps going to the left forever. What about to the right? It keeps going to the right forever too. So domain should be all real number, or we can say minus infinity, comma, infinity, parenthesis, parenthesis. This is interval notation. What does that mean? You can go forever to the left. Also, you can go forever to the right. Basically, it's saying I'm covering everywhere. Forever to the left is minus infinity. Forever to the right is positive infinity. Range means all possible y value, all possible outputs. So as you can see, keeps going down forever, keeps going up forever. So always range how low to how high. That's how you write. Minus infinity to positive infinity. Range will be also a real number, or in interval notation, minus infinity to infinity. That will be the domain. Yeah, they said all real number. That's okay too. I think Alex, you might have to do interval notation. Then determine whether the equation is a function. Function, how do you tell? Vertical line test. Does a vertical line anywhere passes the graph more than once? It passes only once, everywhere. Yes, function. Where do you say? Oh, they didn't say that. You have to say determine, so say yes function. Okay. Oh, then determine whether the equation is a function and is one-to-one, onto both, or neither. Okay. So one-to-one means only one input connected to only one output. That's the case. So graphically, one-to-one function checking, you can do vertical line test and horizontal line test. It has to pass both. Then it's a one-to-one function. So vertical line test, it doesn't pass more than once. Horizontal line test, it doesn't pass more than once. So one-to-one function, yes. One-to-one function is correct. One-to-one function. On-to function means there's no input wasted. So there's no output wasted. There's no output sitting there by themselves, not connected to input. If you look at any y value here, you can find its x value. So it is onto function. So onto, yes. Both, yeah, it is both. Discrete continuous. Okay, discrete means like a point, not connected. That's what we mean by discrete. Continuous means continuous. It's all connected together. Of course, it's continuous. If you see point, then that's a discrete. Given f of x equal to x cubic minus 3, find its value. So this is a question. F of minus 2. What do? You plug it in x value as minus 2 to this. So plug it in minus 2. Please be careful with the parentheses. Okay? And you don't put parentheses, sometimes you'll get wrong answer. So that's why I ask you to put the parentheses and just evaluate this value. That's the final answer. Same function, I am asking f of 2t. So here is what I want you to do. When you try to do something like this, I want you to set it up. F of something equal to something cubic minus 3. So just set up using parentheses first like this. Then what's inside here? 2t. Then you put 2t. Okay? So that's this. Then you parentheses cubic, you evaluate it, and that's the answer. The table shows the average fuel efficiency in miles per gallon for SUVs for several years. Graph this information and determine whether it represents a function. Okay, if you look at it, this is a point. X value, Y value. X value, Y value. X value, Y value. You got what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points. So you're just plotting 7 points on our x-axis, y-axis, then here's a point. So that's what they meant by graph. Point. Plot a bunch of points on a graphing paper. Okay? Determine whether it represents a function. Do you remember? Once you graph it, you can say vertical line test. Does the line pass more than one point anywhere? No. So yes, it is a function. Yes, function. Or when you look at it here on the table, x value, all input values are different. Then you know it should be yes function. Because let's say you got 2001 20.8. Let's say another value is 2001 21.7. So you got same inputs with the different outputs, then you know this is not a function because one input is just split into two different outputs. But here we don't have any same inputs, so you know it has to be a function. Is the relation discrete or continuous? Bunch of points. They are not connected to each other. Of course, discrete. Okay, a commuter train ticket costs $7.25. The cost of taking the train X times can be described by the function y equal to 7.25x, where y is the total cost in dollars. Determine whether the function is correctly modeled by a discrete or continuous function. Okay. So be careful. If you just plot y equal to 7.25x, This will be straight line. So if you say, oh yeah, that's continuous, then you will lose this problem. Why? Because in a word problem, application problem like this, you need to think about the context. So if you see taking train X times, so a person can take a train 0 times, or you can take it once, you can take it twice, you can take it 3 times. So X value is whole number, no decimal. So you cannot take train like 1.725 times. That doesn't make any sense. So be careful. You cannot purchase a fractional part of the ticket, so the domain is set of whole numbers. So it should be discrete. Why discrete? You can have only X value as a 1, 2, 3, 4. You cannot have X value as 1.1, 1.72. That's not possible. So if you plot this, plot this, plot this, plot, that's going to be all point, point, point because of the situation. So answer should be discrete. Okay, that's all for this chapter.